Die was fantasties met bietjie hoopie op Milie FM. Kos vir jou oor, jy het langer van park. Dis jou buurt, dis jou stasie. Vind nou baie lekker vir Curtis Sully, prokureur, regsgeleerde by ons in die ateljee. Baie goeiemôre Curtis.
Môre Johan, baie dankie vir die geleentheid hier man.
En baie dankie dat jy met ons kom gesels het. Nou ons praat juis oor verhuuring. Meeste van die ouens in Langehoven Park en groter dele van Bloemfontein wat wel hier. En ek het al agtergekom die grootste probleem met ouens wat hier is, hulle vat die raad van my pel het gesê dit werk nie so nie. Dis ook bly is om jou hier te hê, die man wat die reg ken, wat presies vir ons kan verduidelik hoorie, dis hoe dit werk, dis wat hy moet doen, dis jou regte en dit is die regte van die verhuurder. En eintlik 'n groot gesprek en baie dankie dat jy hier is. Nou kom ons begin by die begin. Curtis, nou eerste wat jy moet doen is as jy wil verhuur, moet jy natuurlik by die agentskap kom en vir hulle vra, luister jy, gaan wys my jou huise. Maar hoe werk die proses, die keuringsproses waarna die verhuurders kyk?
Johan, so die belangrikste ding is eers om seker te maak dat 'n huurooreenkoms is. So mens kan verskei tussen 'n mondelikse ooreenkoms en dan 'n fisiese huurooreenkoms. Okay, nou, in as far as your question is concerned now, you do have a vetting. Now what that vetting basically stipulates is it gives the agent an opportunity to address or obtain information from you in order to set up the agreement now. So let's say, for example, you find a house, you go to an agent and you tell the agent, listen, I want to please lease this house over here. The agent will do the necessary FICA compliance, which is all your details, ID number, those types of stuff. They are allowed to also do a credit check. So that would be through Experian and those types of places. That's to protect the landlord. And then as well as employment verification, your proof of income, those types of stuff as well. So it is a process that you go through. It's almost like a filtration process. However, it's also important to note that they are not allowed to discriminate against the person. So even though your affordability is not of such a nature, it doesn't mean that you are automatically disqualified from renting the particular house. So once again, it just depends on how lenient the agent is, if I can put it like that, for lack of a better word.
En ek vra die vraag, want dit is vraag wat ek ook voorheen gekry het, wat baie van die agente deesdae doen, voordat hulle vir jou uitvat om te gaan kyk na 'n huis, vra hulle klaar vir al jou dokumente, om kom sê die screening te doen. Mag hulle dit doen, of moet jy eers besluit, okay, ek stel belang in hierdie huis? Mag hulle vir jou sê voor die tyd, geef my jou dokumente voor ek enige stappe verder doen?
Johan, so they are allowed to do that. It's also, like I say, it's for a screening process. So what that helps them is that it prevents them from getting people, I want to say your opportunistic leases and that, because what has become quite predominant in South Africa is that people do go and rent houses and that. They are not able to pay. Then the landlord is stuck in a position where he's not getting any rental income. The tenants don't want to leave. Then it forces or necessitates him to bring an eviction application. So it is very important for the agents to do that, because at the end of the day, if the agents don't do it, they can also be held liable by the landlord now.
En dan natuurlik ook 'n deposito gewys. Dis ook 'n moeilike een, want as jy gaan rondkyk, hierdie een ou vra 1 maand, een ou vra 2 maande, party ons wat tot 3 maande se deposito. Is daar enige regtelike aspek rondom hoeveel deposito gevra mag word?
So the basic rule of thumb is between 1 and 2 months. At the end of the day, it depends on the lease agreement. So if the lease agreement stipulates, let's say 3 months, for example, rental for deposit, then they are allowed to do that, yes. But one also needs to look at reasonableness. So you can't be in a position where, for example, if you are leasing a property for 15,000, it won't be reasonable to expect someone to just cough up 45,000 rand like that. I mean, it's ridiculous. People don't have that sort of disposable income. For those types of stuff. So reasonable between 1 and 2 months.
En dan is daar ook die eerste plek waar altyd gaan rondkrap is, jy gaan kyk op Facebooks en Property Lets en al hierdie tipe van websites. Nou, in die verantwoordelikheid van die agent om 'n plek te adverteer, want ek het dit self al agtergekom 'n paar keer, ek hier self, wat jy die foto sien van 'n plek wat geadverteer word, maar as jy daar kom, is dit 'n heeltemal ander prentjie, want hulle het, kom ons sê, 'n huis in dieselfde kompleks gebruik en afgeneem, wat beter lyk as die een wat hulle adverteer, en jy reageer op daai foto's, as jy daar kom, is dit glad nie dieselfde plek nie.
So the agents are allowed to do that, yes. However, what's very important is that they need to stipulate at the bottom, for example, that these are images and the exact unit can differ from it. So they are allowed to, but they have to notify the people that it is not the exact property which they are going to be leasing. If they do, it is misleading, and there are certain penalties, or they can be reported to certain bodies for misleading information to that extent, yes.
Nou het jy uiteindelik hierdie perfekte plekkie gekry wat jy wil hier, jy trek in, jy doen die inspeksie natuurlik, jy kyk dat alles reg is, en binne 'n week of 2, dan begin daar probleme kom in die huis self. Wat is die verantwoordelikheid vir jou as huurder, as dit kom by instandhouding, en wat is die verantwoordelikheid van die agent of dan nou die verhuurder?
Okay, so you as a tenant are responsible for, let's say, the interior, for the smaller things, for example, for the light bulbs, if you have maybe dripping taps, those types of stuff. Whereas the more bigger things, that would be the landlord's responsibility. So if there are cracks on the inside of the wall, if there is maintenance to the roof, those types of stuff that needs to be done, the landlord is responsible for that. But what's also very important is before you even take occupation, you need to ensure that you go and have a walkthrough where they do almost like a type of list where it's disclosed, like, for example, there's a crack over here, there's a problem over there, there's a problem over there. All of this needs to be listed, because at the end of the day, if you do an outgoing valuation, once you've terminated your lease agreement, you do an outgoing inspection, if you haven't disclosed any of this in that list, then the landlord can hold you liable and it can be deducted from your deposit.
Nou, as ons kyk na die verhuurder, die agentskap self, ook stories wat ek gehoor het van, jy weet, hulle wat elke maand 'n inspeksie wil kom doen of elke tweede week. Wat is die regte van die verhuuringsagentskap of dan nou die verhuurder? Wanneer mag hy kom kyk na die huis? Mag hy kom inspeksie doen terwyl jy daar bly? Hoe werk die reëlings? Moet jy, as hy sê hy kan 9 uur kom, moet jy seker wees jy's daar vir hom? Wat is sy regte in daai opsig?
So that also just depends from agent to agent as well. There's no basic rule of thumb over there also. However, it will be subject to agreement between the parties. So, for example, mostly, or in most probability, it will usually be once a month. However, the agent needs to make the necessary arrangements with the tenant, and the agent is the one that needs to accommodate the tenant. So they can't phone you now and say, listen, yeah, I want to come today at 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock just to do an inspection, or tomorrow 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock. They need to give you a reasonable amount of time, and then once the agreement has been reached, then obviously the tenant needs to just avail himself as per the date and the time agreed between the parties.
En dan een ding wat al die huurders, as jy hier, het jy die woord al gehoor, almal praat daaroor, maar ek dink julle besef regtig wat is die rol van 'n body corporate nie. Almal praat altyd, ja, maar is die body corporate dit, body corporate dit. Wat is die rol van 'n body corporate?
Okay, so the body corporate is actually the managing agent. So one does have what you call a body corporate. Okay, then you do have so the body corporate is responsible for the maintenance of the let's say a block of flats or whatever. Now their duties they need to ensure that the common areas such as your parking bays, your gardens, all of those stuff are kept up, meaning it's tidy, all those types of stuff. If you do have any complaints also, then the tenants usually address those complaints to the body corporate, and they are the ones that need to address it. So they are employed by the sectional, by the particular flats and whatever, by the tenants, in order just to give effect to their rights, their concerns, all those types of stuff.
So die body corporate is eintlik daar dan om die huurder te help.
Yes, correct, yes.
En dan nog iets wat begin kop uitsteek het, wat ek sien almal oor kla, is die derde party verkopers van krag en water. En baie keer heffings wat daar opgesit word, is baie keer is die belstele, maar is 'n ekstra heffing deur die body corporate, ensovoorts. Hoeveel mag 'n derde party wat sê nou maar krag of water verkoop, hoeveel mag hulle ekstra vra? Want daar is mense met wie ek gepraat het, wat op 'n stadium R3,000 se krag in 'n week gebruik.
Johan, so that's actually a very controversial subject, because at the end of the day, there is nothing that regulates how much they are allowed to charge on these levies and those types of stuff. But once again, it also boils down to reasonableness. So one would have to look at the agreement between the body corporate as well as, let's say, the block of flats or whatever. So whatever that agreement is, that they will agree on the specific percentage of commission that they may charge on all the levies. So for example, it's usually in the vicinity of around 3.5%. However, nothing precludes any aggrieved party, if they feel that, listen, yeah, I'm being overcharged, whatever, you are allowed to go to the municipality, and the municipality can institute an investigation just to see whether or not it is reasonable. So there are mechanisms in place to prevent body corporates from overcharging tenants.
So die stappe daar is, ek sê weer, jy kan munisipaliteit toe gaan 'n klag daar gaan lê en hulle kan gaan kyk, is dit regverdig, is dit nie regverdig nie.
That's correct, yes.
Want kom ons sê jy as 'n huurder is ongelukkig en behalwe nou vir die krag te gaan lê met die body corporate wat daar is om mense te help. Kom ons met ABC kragverkopers, voel jy is onregverdig teenoor jou, kan jy ook sekerlik daai klag by die body corporate gaan aangee en sê hoor jy kry iemand anders.
Yes, you can do that. So that's what's also very important, John, that when you have an annual general meeting, any owner needs to participate in that meeting, because that's where all of this gets discussed. That's where you see the financial statements for the year. All of this information gets disclosed. So if someone is aggrieved and you're of the opinion, listen here, I don't agree with how this third-party vendor is charging us, it gets reviewed at the annual general meeting, and then once that agreement is, let's say it's reached deflection of time, meaning that it has reached its end, then the parties may agree to get someone else, a different managing agent, to assist to that extent that will obviously be more cheaper. But once again, it depends on the negotiation between the parties.
Dis Curtis Sally. Curtis, vertel vir my laaste vraag. As jy nou voel, daar's onreëlmatighede, daar's iets waar jy nie gelukkig is nie, iets wat die agente of dan uit die body corporate, daar is plekke waar jy kan gaan die probleem aanmeld.
Yes, Johan, there is. So, for disputes about deposits, maintenance, unfair practices, evictions, or even unfair utility charges, there is a body corp, the Rental Housing Tribunal. Bloem does have one where all of these complaints can be lodged over there. And then for complaints against estate agencies, there is a Property Practitioners Regulatory Authority where you can go and lay complaints. You will find them on Google, and they are very active as well. So as soon as you lay a complaint, they do the necessary investigation. So they really are very active, and they really do help your consumer or your tenant. And then for disputes in sectional titles, it will obviously be the body corporate who's responsible to try and resolve those disputes. And then lastly, for unfair business practices, misleading photos, those types of stuff, you have the National Consumer Commission. They are responsible for also just maintaining that, and if there is any concerns or anything that you need them to address, you lay your complaints over there. And like I say, they're also very active, and they really, really help the tenants as well.
Curtis, ek sê vir jou baie dankie die tyd afstaan het by ons kom carry hier by Milie FM. Ek hoop dis die laaste keer wat ons gesels nie. Ek dink na ons gesprek vandag gaan daar heel wat vrae nog weer deurkom. En ek hoop ons kan weer 'n bietjie bymekaar kom. Want hierdie is regtig iets wat mense nie regtig verstaan nie. Baie ouens sit in hierdie kontrakte en jy weet baie keer nie waantoe nie. So ek wil vir jou baie dankie sê vir al jou advies en bystand en al jou raad. En ek hoop jy 'n fantastiese dag verder.
Thank you, Johan. Thank you so much, and to all the listeners. And you guys are more than welcome to contact me at any point if you do have any further questions. But thank you so much for this opportunity. I really appreciate it, and a blessed day to everyone.
Jy is ingeskakel op 90.7 FM, Milie FM, kos vir jou ore, jy het Langehoven Park, jou buurt, jou stasie.